Good morning, good morning. Just doing syncing the tablet and we will get started. How's everyone doing this morning? I hope it's a good day for everyone. There are a few issues with the cloud. We should try again later. Checking. It's still checking. Check sync. No syncing errors, so we should be able to connect that. All right, good morning and welcome to the Board Gaming Breakfast presented by the McMeeples. My name is Sam. I'm one part of the Instagram account, the McMeeples, and this is a weekly morning live stream that I like to do Monday through Friday to get my day off on a creative foot. And so for those of you who are new to the channel, how it works is I like to talk about a game of the day. We'll talk about some of the mechanics as to why I enjoy it, what makes it good, in my opinion. Then we'll move into a brainstorm challenge of taking the game of the day and adding a random mechanic into it. Afterwards, once we've finished up that, we'll move into a designing a game in 5 minutes, and then we'll finish off and get everyone out the door so we're not late to work. So without further ado, let's get it started. Didn't bring my water, so that's fine. All right. So the game of today that I'd like to talk about is Aquatica by Arcane Wonders. So Aquatica is a hand management style game where you're trying to collect victory points through a couple different ways. And so I'm not going to do a full rules explanation. There are much better channels that teach how-tos and go over the rules for the game. Happy to link those in the comments or the description below. But today I wanted to focus on the mechanics of the player board and the islands or locations, the location cards, and then talk a little bit about a few other mechanics that I find to be really well-tuned that make this game such an easy game to jump into and play. So without further ado, let's go into that. So as I said, you have your player board here, and you have these little location cards that are on the main board for you to conquer or for you to buy. And so there's a coin cost for if you're buying it, and then on the other side there's a conquer cost. Hopefully that picks up a little bit. But once you've acquired the card, you'll end up sliding it into your player board up to where the first bonus is. And so as you can see here, there are a few different bonuses, and so the next time I need to take an action that involves money, I can push this up to get one extra dollar or coin for spending, whether it's buying more locations or buying these character cards that'll slowly get added into your hands to be able to play and create asymmetrical powers. And what happens once you've used up all the bonuses, there's a treasure symbol that you can play to score it, and then it'll come out of your player board and be kept here for the end of the game, and you'll get victory points for what the card worth. You'll score all of these at the end of the game. And so that mechanic of having up to 5 different locations that have these bonuses available to you to use at any given time is a fun puzzle, because you'll take a turn, take a turn, take a turn, and then you'll be planning for this one turn where it's, all right, well, I want to, so say we have a setup like this, for example. We've acquired these 3 locations, and I want to recruit a character. So recruiting a character costs money, so I can push this up for 1, I can push that up for 2, and then I can buy 3 value worth of a character. So we say we bought the 3 character, and then we can use this bonus to push another card up 1, which would push this guy up, and then we can push this one up to push 2 cards up, which would push both of these up, And then you have 2 treasure symbols here, so you can push it up twice to end up scoring these. And so planning turns like that in advance is sort of what makes this game sing for me, because you got this hand of 6 character cards that everyone starts out with. And so you're kind of trying to use them, and then you'll discard them and you won't get them back until you play Mantra, which allows you to pull your hands back. But everyone has those same 6 cards, so conquering different locations and buying new characters creates this fun puzzle to try to max out the victory points that you can score from all the treasure you've collected. And so that, in a nutshell, is the mechanic that I find most fascinating about Aquatica. From a production value standpoint, I really love these dual layer boards with a little cavity in it for the cards to sit into, and it doesn't bottom out. It bottoms out, so the cards can't get stuck inside of it, so that the production value on the boards is really sweet. Each person starts with these little mana ray tokens, which have a little free bonus that you can use while it's face up to help give you boosts similar to the boosts that you'd get from the locations. And these are also the timer of the game. So on the main board, there is different scoring objectives for you to try and achieve. And so this one is having 8 cards in your hand. And if you're the first person to achieve it, you can take one of your little scoring tokens and claim it, so you'll get 8 victory points at the end of the game. And that 8 victory points is awesome, but then you're now down that bonus token. So that little puzzle of going back and forth of figuring out when you want to score the bonuses to trigger the end of the game versus holding on to the manas to get the little one-time bonuses whenever you flip them, or the reoccurring bonuses, I guess, if you keep unflipping them. So Mantra and a few other cards will allow you to flip them back and forth. Those are the mechanics that I really have enjoyed in Aquatica. It was actually a game that I taught to a group of gamers at our meetup last night, so that is why it was on my mind. I'd love to hear in the comments below what you think is your favorite part about Aquatica, or if you have a fun story of like triggering 5 or 6 bonuses within one turn. I'd love to hear that in the comments below, so feel free to continue the conversation there. Thanks for stopping by. We can now snap. So for those of you who are religious listeners, you'll notice that I'm not wearing my headset anymore. We got a fun little mic. So instead of the clapping, we'll do snapping to spike the audio to know when the next video is hitting. All right, so now we're going to transition into adding a random mechanic into Aquatica, and that'll be determined by the wheel, the spinning wheel. So let's jump over into that. And we'll get ready to go. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to take Aquatica and add a random game mechanic into it. And so for those of you who haven't seen these videos before, what we do is we jump over onto this screen and we will spin our wheel of mechanics. Mute our computer so it's not super loud. And what did we end up with? Still spinning. Alright, we got auction. Nice. So we are taking Aquatica and adding an auction system in it. Auction. Let's work on improving our handwriting. And so what we'll do from here is we'll pull up our handy dandy phone timer and give us a 5-minute time limit. 5-minute time limit to try to ideate how we would add an auction system into Aquatica. So let's get started. So auction, I'm sure you're familiar with, there's some form of bidding that will happen. And so if we start by redrawing the scoring board, I think how we would do this is instead of like the end game scoring being like first to do this, first to do that, first to do this, first to do that. For those of you who aren't familiar with Aquatica, there are 4 scoring conditions that will trigger the end of the game. And so instead of having that, we would have, I would take something like that and make we'd probably relate these to the different location colors. So if we have our little reference material, so each location has a color associated to it. So the spots up here would be associated to the different colored locations. So we got blue, white, red, and orange. And there would be the same sort of victory point conditions of whoever has the highest gets 8, 5, 3, 3, 3, because you can play it up to 5. So each of those would have the scoring condition the same as well. This is probably going to take just as much time to copy and paste as it is to actually just rewrite them out, but we want to play with our technology, so we'll do it this way. But the scoring condition, instead of placing mana rays, wouldn't be set until the end of the game. And so when you cash out a one of your cards that have the victory points here, you can forego the victory points to place the symbols up there for the coloring. And potentially we would add more of these colored location symbols to it. And so how it would happen is you would place, let me jump back to the second screen. You would place the cards, gotta go back to our pen tool. Don't need that there. But you would place the cards secretly here instead of for scoring purposes. And I guess how would we do that? Because you need to know who owns it. So instead of placing them there, we would just tie into the little treasure spot that each of the boards have. So this would be your little player board with the spots for the cards. So we got our spots for our cards, and you would be doing a blind set collection for area majority into whoever has the most for the colors would get the additional victory points. I think that's where we'd end up. And so we got about 50 seconds left. I think I'm gonna pause it there because we were able to get an idea done in less than 5 minutes. And so to recap, our challenge was to get a auction style into Aquatica. We didn't end up with quite an auction, but it's sort of like a hidden area control endgame scoring. So instead of placing out your mana rays to trigger the end of the game for the scoring conditions that are in base game Aquatica, so you have these preset scoring that you can modify for endgame bonus points, we would make it so that each of the locations are for a color of or each of the scoring endgame scoring criteria is based on a color of a location that you've conquered. And so the normal version of Aquatica ends in 3 possible ways. One being somebody completes all 4 of those sections. The second being they're running out of the locations deck. Third being run out of the character deck. Our decision would be to remove the end game scoring location as an or end game condition as one of the triggers, and so the game would end when one of the two decks run out, and you would reveal whoever has the most of different locations would be essentially their auctioning to win the majority in that. So it's more of an area majority, but it's like a hidden, it's like, I guess, a blurred line of blind or a hidden auction versus a area majority, because you can kind of keep track of the locations that players have had on their board and know if you want to go for more white to compete for the white bonus or not, would be the idea that I ended up with from this challenge. So how I'd test this is the next time I was playing Aquatica with a group, what I would need to do is create the scoring board. And so I would probably remove one of each of the locations. I'd probably do the ones like this because they seem to always get passed over because there's no bonuses and there's no real victory points to them. I'd pull out each one of these cards and I would place them on, we actually have the expansion board. So I'd place them on the expansion board to show the different areas that you can go over, and I'd tell everyone that instead of playing with the standard victory point conditions, it would be whoever has the majority gets 8, 5, 3, etc. And I'd go over that scoring rule set for them, and we would try it out that way to see if Aquatica is more fun with that hidden auctioning area control method. Aquatics is a great game, so I don't know that it would be one that I would choose to insert this house rule into, but that would be, for the sake of the challenge, how I would be going about adding auctioning to Aquatica. If you have other ideas of how you could add an auction system into Aquatica, I'd love to hear them in the comments below. And if you like this type of content, feel free to subscribe. Thank you for stopping by, and I hope to hear from you guys soon. All right, we are on to video number 3. All right, so we don't need Aquatica, so I'm gonna quickly throw all that off screen here. And we will jump into the last video. That'll be a fun to clean up. So we're gonna get it set up for the last video by going to the game idea generator. All right. Hi, welcome back to the McMeeple channel. Today we're going to brainstorm a game in 5 minutes from a randomly generated prompt. Woo! So for those of you who aren't familiar with the channel, during our live stream, we like to finish it off with a 5-minute brainstorm challenge. And how we come up with the prompt is we go over to letsmakeagame.net. They have a great tool called their idea generator. The link for this tool will be in the description below. But what it'll provide for you is once you click the generate button, you'll get a genre, rule, and setting and theme for you to be able to design around. And what we do here on the channel is we'll take that prompt and give us a 5-minute time window to just throw crap into the tablet and see what comes out. And so without further ado, we'll generate a prompt and set our timer. So our genre, we got a battle royale. You must leave it behind is our rule. The setting is pirates and the theme is friendship. That sounds like a great prompt. So we're gonna start our 5-minute timer and let the good times roll. All right, so battle royale, you must leave it behind, pirates and friendship. Battle royale and friendship seems interesting. So in most battle royales that I've seen played, you have this ever shrinking area. And so I think we would start by creating a central board area, and that would be the ending point where the game ends by, And we'd have to populate that map by creating a bunch of hex tiles. And this patterned hex tile system is going to be fun because they aren't all the same. It's probably actually just quicker for me to sketch little hex tiles. So we got our map, and probably be over 3 rounds. So I get back into the line screen. So we'd have to have 3 rings. Oh god, we're not in the pen tool. We're coming off the rails. That 5-minute time limit really puts a pressure onto things, which is good because you can't really overthink the idea. If anything, you come up with half-baked thoughts. But we are going to focus on trying to get hex tiles out on the map as quick as possible with still being legible of hex tiles. And you would have, so the game would be played over 3 rounds maybe, but there would be a set number of rounds and then the map would shrink. So potentially after round 1, say we'd get rid of these guys, those would go away. Round 2, these guys would go away. And round 3, the center would go away. And then you would do final scoring. So maybe the center tile would be the rule set for the game. So if we jumped this guy out, nice little call out there, you would have potentially a but there'd be some sort of scoring. So most swords placed next to treasure chests. Because we're pirates, because we gotta stick to the pirate theme, and that would get you 1 VP per, and then friendships made. So there'd be a set collection of how many friends you've made. So there'd be friend 1, 2, and 3. Gets you additional victory point. And so these tiles would randomly be generated to have what would they have on them? It's a battle royale, so you're battling to make the most friends as a pirate. So I guess to ad lib for the theming's sake, you're battling over having the biggest crew, because when you're part of the crews together, you have friendship. And so we haven't figured out the turn structure, but on the tiles there would be potentially a color assigned to it, so or like a terrain type, and there would be a character on them with a place for treasure. So this would be character. Oh boy. So we'll finish this thought and then wrap up where we got to and talk about how we would take the next steps to push this idea to a point where it could be play tested. At least a rudimentary concept to see if the core system is even any fun. So you got a terrain type, a place to place treasure, a character, and we might stop it at that. So it's so this would be the spot for treasure. So we got our spot for treasure. Bam. So each tile will be randomly seeded with a terrain, and then you'd place a character token on it. and the character tokens probably have some criteria of gold or like what they're willing to work for, and then there'd be a spot for treasure that you can place and bury something. And zoomed out a little too far there. And then everyone would have their little pirate player board, potentially some character power, their gold tracker. That was poorly drawn. Let's get a better gold tracker. And so that'll be up here. And you got 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then your space for booty. And we have our terrain powers. So when you're on a certain location, you can place and hide something there. And so we'll say you get 3 actions per turn. So this would be jungle, swamp. Never know if desert is 1 else or 2. I think it's 1. Desert, swamp, plains, and city or town, village, town, something like that. And they have a little associated action to them that has to do with, you know, swapping. Makes jungle is, say, pull 3 treasures, keep 1. Swamp is just get 2 random treasures. Desert is what is desert? Maybe that gives you more money. The plains allow you to just copy 1 in your supply, and then village is trade 1 for 1, something like that. And so what we're talking about all of these actions for is there are, let's say, 6 different symbols that are in the game. So we got our sword, our treasure chest, our parrot. I don't know. We don't want to be trading in parrots, but other pirate things. We got eye patches, and I don't know. Pirates like to drink out of nice chalices. And sure, rope. We'll do with rope. And so those would be the 6 symbols that you'd be able to like manipulate your little pirate booty in here. So you have 8 slots that you can hold them. And the turn structure would be you move and get to do an action, and then you have an optional action to place treasure out there or recruit a character. So you get 2 actions per turn of trying to recruit someone to your team or burying treasure, and each player would have a set number of turns before the map shrinks, and you would no longer be able to interact with that tile. So say those would all go out after, you know, we'll say it's 24 turns, so after 8 turns all of these are all gone, and after 16 turns these would all go away, and then after 8 more turns the game would end. And you can move up to 2 spaces for an action and then either interact with a character or terrain or bury treasure. And those would be the 3 options for the second one. And I think we've gotten to the point where we could test something. And so what I would do, so to recap, our challenge was to come up with a battle royale game. You must leave something behind, and it's based around pirates and friendship. And so we ad-libbed a little bit, but we came up with the Battle Royale is a randomly generated map that you would populate all the tiles around a randomly selected scoring tile, and then you would pull from the bag of characters to place a character type to seed all of the 18 locations with characters for the game, and then there'd be a spot to bury treasure. And we'd probably have to come up with endgame bonuses at this point to figure out, like, there'd be a scoring around characters that you've collected. Maybe that's a secret objective. And then there's a public objective of what type of symbol you can, based on like symbols wanting to match certain areas or something like that. But we'd have to figure out what the end game structure is. But at this point, we could create the terrain action card. We could create the tiles for the different types of booty that you get within the game. And we could come up with we'd associate each of the booty probably to a color, and that would relate to the character at this point. We'd end up giving them different pirate titles, so like a deckhand, cabin boy, first mate, something like that, for the characters that would get seeded. And we would have to create the player board, but that would be the next steps that I need to take to test this pirate friendship battle royale game. And I probably need to write up a quick rules overview to teach, but I would more than likely test this one in Tabletop Simulator as my preferred method of play instead of cutting out a bunch of hex tiles. It'd be fairly quick to do because you'd have to create, so we got our 6 or 5 different location types. We need 18, so we'd create 4 of each of them on one side, and we'd do the random setup, so that'd be taken care of to create the board and the actions of what they do. We would then need to create character tokens, so we could just pull 6 of those images and create a reference to associate to those items, and then come up with the base scoring tile and test it from there. Probably take about an hour's worth of formatting work, and then would pull it in TTS. I'd probably be able to play this solo just to see if the core take an action even feels fun. I guess fun is the word that I like to design around. I like to feel like I'm enjoying the actions that I'm taking and that they're building to something. And so if it feels like I can plan a few turns ahead, then I'd spend a couple more hours into trying to give as much information as possible of what's going on in my head to allow me to plan ahead to the rest of the people. And then I would probably jump into trying to play test it with either a couple of buddies that don't mind playing my broken silly games and go from there. Feel free to let me know in the comments below any ideas that you came up with this 5-minute challenge. I know we spent an extra 5 minutes finishing it, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on what a battle royale pirate friendship game would look like. So feel free to comment those in the comments below, and if you like these type of videos, feel free to subscribe. I post them 3 videos a week, 5 live streams a week as well. So there's plenty of content for you to contribute to the conversation. I hope everyone has a great day, and hope to hear from you soon. All right, thanks for anyone that was watching the stream live. Today felt a lot better. It's nice not having the headsets on. Hopefully the sound quality feels a little better as well. Look forward to chatting with you guys tomorrow.